In this video, I want to show you how to install Visual Studio 2017 on Windows 10. Start with a browser, type in install Visual Studio 2017. When you get response here, look for www.visualstudio.com. Choose this one. This is the official Microsoft site. You have multiple options here. What we want is Visual Studio Community 2017. It's free. It's the full compiler. The others are trials. Eventually, they will cost you something or become crippled. So let's choose the free download. And down here on my browser, we'll see that the VS Community something.exe is being downloaded. This is what's called a bootstrap. Let me click it. The point of the bootstrap is to initialize and set up the environment to bring down the actual compiler. Let me minimize this so it's clear. Visual Studio, the bootstrap is now setting things up, and we'll go out to the actual Microsoft site and start pulling down the installation data. After a bit, this will pop up. For C++ development, we want to make sure we check the proper box, and that is the desktop development with C++. Give that a click, and it will show some parts that it's going to install. We're good. Just the single check alone is fine. Click install, and off it goes. This will take a fair amount of time, so be patient. Go do something else. As you can see here, we're nearly done. Still have to wait a little bit longer. Now we're at the end. It is finishing up. There we go. Now from this, we click on Launch. It will start Visual Studio. When this window comes up, if you have an account, go ahead and sign in. Otherwise, let's just say not now, maybe later. Click on that. Take the default. Start Visual Studio. A few more minutes of setup time, and here we go. This is our home page. When ready, under the New Project, look for Empty Project. Click on that. It will bring up this window. Name the project something. We'll say it's our first program. Before I click OK, what I want to do is bring your attention to this line right here. This is where the files for your project will be located. So if you're looking for the .cpp file to review or submit for your class or something, you're going to have to go into users. It'll be specific for you. In my case, Mr. Yount's source repos. Within that, I'll see the project name, like first. I'll browse to that later and show you, but just remember this location, users, Mr. Yount's source repos. Click OK. All right. Down here, it says creating the project successful. Come up here on source files, right click. You'll see add new item. Click that. This window pops up. Make sure the C++ file is selected. I usually name mine something like main or client. I like client these days. And notice here this location that I pointed out before. Users Mr. Yount's source repos first. That's the way it will be named. The first is the solution, which can have multiple projects. The second first is the project itself. So for a single solution, single project, it looks a little redundant, but it's not. Click Add. So we're going to create a C++ source file. That's where we write our program code. And up comes a blank editor window with the line number 1. Let's write our basic program. Include iostream using namespace std int main, must be called main, lowercase with the parentheses. We will say cout hello world, prints a new line character, and returns 0 to say all was good. This is your basic program. Memorize the form. Include iostream using namespace standard, int main, paren with the brace, and line 6, return 0 and the closing brace. That's your basic program. In this case, the program is going to just output hello world. That will not be too impressive, but it is a full program that does something good. Now, to run this, compile it and run it, we can come up here and click that right pointing green arrow. But something nasty is going to happen. I'll do it. Click. That's going to say, do you really want to build it and all that. Click do not show dialog again. Yes. This way it'll automatically build when you say run it. Down here, you see it's compiling. This Takes a few minutes. Now it's going to run it. And there's the window, as you can see, and it disappears. Here's a quick, easy, nice way of getting around that window disappearing. On the close brace here in line 7, come over here to this vertical gray bar, double click, you get a red dot. That's called a breakpoint. What that means is the program will execute up to that point and then stop. The reason the window goes away is because our program here finished. And once finished, no need to keep everything around, including that window. So what we're going to do is not let it finish fully. Let's click the run again, and there it is, pops up, hello world. Now it hides. There it is, there's the window. For some reason, it always seems to go back behind Visual Studio, but there's your output window, and it's going to sit there, and it's not going to do a thing until you come back to Visual Studio and click continue or stop. The brown square is stop, the green arrow is continue. I recommend clicking continue so everything finishes up. Let me move this. You'll see the window disappear. Here it is back here lurking. Click and it goes away. And we're finished now. Our program has compiled and run successfully. And with the breakpoint here, I get to see that window and it doesn't disappear until I want it to. There are other techniques to prevent that, but this is the simplest one with Visual Studio. Now, back to that location. I'm going to bring up my File Explorer and I'm going to look for the source file that will be on my hard drive, local disk, users, Mr. Yance, source, repos, first. This is the project, and first. Now notice here is a first.sln. That's the solution file. That is not what you want to submit. Let's click on first again. And here we see client.cpp. I named my source file client.cpp. So this is the one you would submit. Notice the extension .cpp. We installed Visual Studio. We created our first program and we found the source file for it. Hopefully this video helps you set up Visual Studio 2017 for C++ on Windows 10.